Hello everybody, this is Alex from Hardcoring Guides, bringing my, not guide, but actually a brand new series idea entitled Skill Issue. This is going to be the God Hand edition. Now, I just want to let everybody know that this is kind of more like a potential one-off thing, and it's not going to happen for every game. It's only like very specific things that I had in mind, and just something I wanted to try out. Ignore my squeaky chair, sorry about that. But anyway, we just finally got done with God Hand. People liked it, I liked it, I had a lot of fun. I'm sure a lot of you guys had fun watching it too, and it was a great time. But I just want to kind of get a general coverage of God Hand and just talk about a few things that, yeah, like I don't think I missed anything. So I was thinking like Skill Issue could be something like that, where like, oh, I'll cover over things I might have missed, or even things that maybe could be talked more about in depth or something. But that's the problem though, is I've talked about pretty much everything I kind of wanted to talk about in the series itself, and I feel like it's kind of pointless to just, you know, reiterate the things I've already said. But, because like if you need, like if somebody needs help with something, they're going to look up that specific part. They're not going to watch this random video talking about God Hand or whatever to find tips and tricks. I mean, if they do, then I have a couple of tips and tricks, which of course you can find in the videos themselves. And I should have footage in the background playing. It's probably just gonna be like random footage of the game, because I kept all the videos in a file, so that way, or in a folder. What am I talking about? So that way I can keep these for the Skill Issue video. I might not take any specific videos out. It might just be going through, like, I don't know, halfway through the game or something. Just like a thing where it plays through. But if I had a couple of tips, the obvious tip I can always give is you gotta prepare for just everything. You have to, well, not everything, but you have to essentially make sure you know how many orbs you need, or how many orbs you want to have for the upcoming boss fight, or even how, you know, do I have enough God Hand to do this? That kind of thing. And do I need God Hand back? Should I taunt? Can I run across the room and then get a taunt or two in, and then just build up tension that way, or, you know, whatever. God Hand is very, very much so a game in which essentially everything is like both reactionary, because, you know, there's going to be times where enemies are going to do things that you're not going to want them to do, right? Like, say, for example, they're going for like a flurry of punches or whatever, and in that case, it's like, well, I'm just going to up dodge, and then I'll try to do like a sweep kick or something, and then they all of a sudden just decide to jump and then just kick you. But in that moment, it's like, if they do jump, you react to that, you back dodge, and there you go. And the other half that I mentioned was, like I said, you know, just being prepared, which was something I just talked about, you know, a second ago, which is essentially just making sure you have your stuff ready and available, and you know what bosses are coming, specifically bosses. Now, there's a lot of times where I think it was definitely stage 6. I think it might have been like stage 6, 4, 3, something like that maybe. That's the one where like you're in that little cave, and the first fight you fight is the 2 whip type enemies. And then you have just the regular, not really regular, but I think he was like an elite fodder type guy. It's mostly fodder for a little bit. No, it was 1 whip and then 1, I think, foddered, like regular brown shirt guy, I think it was. And then there's a door with an elite, I believe. And then you go past that, and you eventually get to this area where there's these people, you know, turning a crank or whatever going on. And there's like 3 waves of enemies that come in, like axe wielders, you know, the sniper type guys, the daggers, and all that other stuff. And it's just like, it's just a nightmare sometimes. Even when you are prepared for that, it's like, God, you know, there's just times where these things just really suck. But thankfully, God Hand gives you enough tools at your disposal to deal with any potential threats that do come your way. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know the specifics or the intricacies of like the iframes or whatever. I'm under the impression that a back dodge has more iframes, but I think so. I'm not really sure. But I do think, if I remember correctly, that a back dodge is actually the weakest of the dodges to use, because, well, sometimes, you know, enemies will throw you off with an attack that can catch up to you. Like, they can lunge or whatever and then get you with that. but it's one of the more weaker ones to dodge with, because you don't get very far back. You know, sometimes it's nice to get some spacing, but some enemies just don't give that to you. And on top of that, even though it might have a bit more iframes, there's always the chance that like you kind of just end yourself up somewhere you don't really want to be, and then maybe get hit from there or something. And then like up dodging is like the most risky one, but yet the most rewarding, because, you know, it's fast, it's quick, but you do get that dodge in, and it might have small iframes potentially, but still. And I never really even use side dodge much, unless it's just like very specific stuff, like I'm fighting specific enemies that either require me to side dodge their attacks, or at the very least, I'm trying to kind of maneuver them and get the camera lock-on thing to work with me, and get them to, you know, go this way, or get Jean to look this way, or whatever. That's another thing, too, that I can kind of admit that I'm not the biggest fan of when it comes to God Hand, is the lock-on system. It works fine, like 98% of the time. You know, I hardly ever have too much trouble. I do wish that when you use roulette, I wish when you were using an orb, just to lock on to somebody, I wish you could change that lock on to somebody else. Because, like, I think I don't know exactly what it does, but I would guess it probably focuses on priority. Maybe. That's the thing that I feel like it probably does, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But either way, like, it would be nice if I'm hitting R1, then I can just move the stick and be like, oh, I want him instead, and then just get a better lock on if I'm going to hit him. Now, a lot of the time, if I'm using an orb, yeah, I'm probably going to use it, but there are, you know, those occasions, a lot of time, where I like to use it for just the tech aspect of it, and just use it to essentially give me a actual button lock-on, which, you know, this game doesn't actually have that. It doesn't have a button lock-on that later games will eventually start to get. I don't remember if there's any PS2 games. I mean, I'm sure there were some PS2 games that probably had like a lock-on system in the regard of like maybe something along the lines of maybe a beat-em-up or hack and slash or whatever, but I can't dead offhand think of that right now. But I do know that, like, especially the PS3 era, there was definitely, you know, Dark Souls, of course. Metal Gear Rising had one. Bayonetta had one. DMC. Why would I possibly forget about DMC? I can't believe oh man, I can't believe I forgot about that. But yeah, like, there's no direct button input besides, of course, R1 being your orb menu. Let me just move my chair around here. There is no technical lock-on besides that, and sometimes the auto lock-on system just kind of just flubs up a little bit and throws you off, and the camera doesn't work to your liking at that time. You get hit and you die, and you're like, what the heck happened? But that only happens on very rare occasions. Something else that I guess I can potentially say that I guess I would argue I'm not a big fan of is, honestly, like, I hate to be honest, but I still struggle with the Mr. Gold, Mr. Silver fight. I went back today and I was trying out a KMS run. For those that don't know what that is, that's a kick me sign run. You're not allowed to use God Hand. You're not allowed to use orbs. You get a kick me sign in like level 1-2, and if you use any of those, it falls off. I didn't use anything in level 1-1, and, you know, just to kind of keep it consistent. I got to 1-6. Is that 1-6? No, it's 1-4. Sorry, 1-4 should be Mr. Gold and Mr. Silver. And I got to actually fight them, but I still don't really understand a lot of their stuff. I did watch somebody who fought them today. I forget the name of the guy, because I wasn't looking like an idiot, because I didn't think I'd need to bring it up, but here I am talking about him. But I can go look it up. You know what? Yeah, who cares? You guys might hear some mouse clicks. I think that's fine, but I'm pretty sure I should still have it somewhere in here. Hold on, I don't want anything to play in the background on accident by any means. That would be dumb. Let's see, there was... Basically, he was doing a God Hand... here it is. He was doing a God Hand KMS, no upgrade, and no damage challenge run. And when he was fighting Mr. Gold and Mr. Silver, he would wait for them to do something specific and then go for a kick. Like just a regular standing kick, and it would knock them away, and it would do a little bit of damage. This guy's name in question is no space, capital, all capitals for the rest of this, Ike, D-I-H. So check him out if you want to see looks like a full playthrough of God Hand on I would assume hard. I'm guessing it has to be hard. There's no way he didn't do hard. No upgrade run, no damage run. It's insane. And I remember I kept bringing them up a lot, I know. But I remember when Seraphim was doing his a while back, and he never ended up finishing his... Well, I think he upgraded, but he tried doing a no damage run, and he only got to maybe like stage 6 or something. Maybe stage 7, I think it was stage 7 that he got to, and then he just kind of just stopped doing it. Which really sucks, too, because it would have been, like, stage 7, weirdly enough, is not that bad, all things considered. I guess that's something I can talk about. Let's talk about the stages, shall we? If I remember dead offhand exactly which ones they were. I might have to whip up some videos to find out, but for the most part, I should have a good idea. Stage 1 is a great tutorial stage, all that being said, but it is rough, man. It is a rough one. It will test you through and through. It tests your patience. It tests everything. It tests what you know about, you know, the game, if you figured it out by now, you know, that kind of thing, right? And that's where the Mr. Gold, Mr. Silver fight kind of come into play, especially on hard mode when they summon 2 more elites, because, man, they give you such a hard time. They got these weird, just happy slap moves, these weird, you know, butt, I don't know what you call them, but, you know, when they throw your butt at you, you know, all that stuff. There's one of them specifically that has no balls, so even if you're using orbs in that fight, Ball Buster's not going to work, I think, on Mr. Silver, I think it was. But either way, you know, they are kind of tough. And this is just... like, even if I'm using orbs, even if I'm using God Hand, it's still just a pain to kind of get through, because you got to deal with those 2 elites right after. If they weren't there, I think that fight would be a lot more better, because then I could actually practice on Mr. Silver and Mr. Gold a little bit more. But then after that, like, you get even a harder level after that. Like, 1-5 was, if I'm not mistaken, that's the one where you go to Elvis's mansion, his house, or whatever it was. And, god damn, like, you know, you just have that... You run down that first hallway or whatever, past the statue, you take out all those guys, and then there's like that door on the first floor that will lead you into a room, a treasure room. You know, it's got a bunch of treasure and stuff in it. It's got like 4 or 5 waves of guys. The first wave is like a wave of 3 fodder enemies, or 6, I think, like 3 on each side. You can go for like a charged punch, wait for them to drop down, go for a charged punch, and then maybe possibly get like a, you know, an uppercut or something going. Hopefully, at that point. You take them out, and then you have to fight, like, a fat, you know, you gotta fight the fat one, you gotta fight, like, a couple more fodder with it, and then after that, it's like those small, ninja guys with the bombs, you gotta deal with them, and then you gotta fight the elites, I think, like 2 elites, and there's a high chance, most likely, that a demon's gonna spawn, and when that happens, right in that room, it's like, why did you have to spawn here of all things? I have no way out of this, and... effectively, I'm just screwed. Well, actually, that's not true. There's a way out, because I'm pretty sure that killing the demon is not going to matter much, because you should have already gotten the key that you needed at that point to leave the area. So maybe I should have tried doing that instead. And that's another thing I want to talk about real quick. If you're going to ever try a KMS run, something I've learned, something I've been trying to pick up on and figure out is, through my hard mode playthrough, I had a ton of money. I didn't spend a lot of it, so it's like, I got all this money, but I got nothing to really do with it, and I could just, you know... buy whatever at this point. Now, I figured out, well, I've known this for a while, but you can always skip enemies. You don't always have to fight everything. I even did this in my actual guide itself. You don't have to fight everything. You can just move on and run away. You know, if you save civilians, if you don't use continues, or whatever, you can finish a stage with a pretty good amount of money, and then use that to upgrade your health. If you're doing a KMS run, then at that point, you don't even need to upgrade TP. You're not going to use God Hand, so what's the point? You don't need to upgrade your roulette. You're not going to use them. What's the point? You know, at best, maybe upgrade your techniques or something. But, you know, and your HP, of course, and that's really about it. So, you know, just go buy specific techniques. You're not going to need to buy orbs. You can just sell them all. Like, if you really are truly going to do a KMS run, just sell everything except for maybe one roulette move, because you might still need to have it to activate the orb. Not the actual, like, to use the orb, but instead to use it for the lock-on trick. That might come in handy. Now, real quick, just to get the elephant out of the room, would I ever do a KMS run? I mean, there's always a chance. I'm even trying to do it now. I'm trying to figure it out now, and I feel like once I get past these guys, you know, then I gotta get past the second to last of stage 1, and then I can deal with all that, but, you know, then it's Elvis, and he shouldn't be too hard. Elvis 1's not too hard, but he does get that upgraded faster attack thing that he has when he jumps in there and slams back down. He does get that on hard mode, though, in comparison to the other difficulties, because he's a lot more lenient about that. But, you know, if you can get him into the wall, go for a kick, even without God Hand, you can still just neutralize his health. So there's that at least. Stage 2. I'm trying to think what stage 2 was. I'm going to go ahead and just turn down my volume, and I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to go try to find out exactly what stage 2 looked like, dead offhand. That should be what I think it is. Oh, that's like the fire stuff and the crane, and then, yeah. This one is, weirdly enough, I guess, like, it's hard, but it's not insanely hard. The levels are not too bad. There's a lot of dark and gray and brown and all that kind of stuff, but for the most part, it's not a bad stage. I got nothing much to say besides the fact that you have to fight Elvis again, and he's a little harder, but even then, you're just doing it again. It's not a big deal. Stage 3 is more so like the circus-type levels, and they're kind of fun, but they got a lot of elites running around, but they're really not that bad. I don't remember them ever being too terrible. And Shannon herself, as a boss, was just kind of whatever. The only thing that ever gave me trouble with her was, of course, running around her little caged room. And then, even then, it's like, well, I just got rid of these guys. Shannon's left. This is nothing, you know? Stage 4 has, like, I believe my favorite music, if that's what I'm thinking of. Yes, it should be the Kilo Crab and, you know, the robots. It's like a bunch. It's a big giant robot stage thing, but that's the thing that kind of sucks. Is with stage 4, you get those robots that explode on you, and that one hurts. And then you got, oh god, Electric Deathmatch. And the Iron Bridge Fashion Show one too. Ugh, you know. Oh, and then of course you gotta have to deal with the Yetterman type, you know, James and Jesse type guys, the Three Stooges basically. You deal with them earlier on, but you also deal with them again in stage 4-4, and that sucks. And then if you finally get to fight Azul in 4-8 with another God Hand after the Electric Deathmatch, which is just already already a pain. And then even then, you're still not even done with stage 4 because you still have one more level to go through, which is the Fat Bazooka Trap. Not too bad, but annoying that I have to do it. And then you gotta fight, of course, Dr. Ion. It's like, oh god, here he goes. Dr. Ion stuff, man, it just, yeah. You don't have to do exactly what I did, where it's like specifically dodging, or using specific dodges for very specific phases of it, but that's what I did, because it just worked out the best for me in that regard. I always back dodge phase 1, and then I side dodge phase 2, and then I up dodge stage 3, because rockets are coming toward me, and yeah. Stage 5 is where we start getting like the boat stuff, like the ship stuff and the alleyways, and really weirdly enough, probably honestly one of the easier stages to deal with, because there's nothing inherently, I don't know why my voice cracked, there's nothing inherently too bad. And I believe this is where we get to fight Elvis for, you know, the last time. Elvis's Graceland. It's where you fight his true form, and even though that's probably like what some people I think would probably consider the hardest part of Elvis, I'm going to be honest with you, Chief. I think he's way harder just as a normal human type, especially when you fight him for the second time in stage 2, because he's got that weird fireball thing that he's got going on, that smoke ring fire from his cigar, sorry. That thing, you know, that thing hurts. It homes in on you and everything, and it sucks. Then, in my opinion, the worst stages of them all, stage 6. Just about everything in stage 6 sucks. You know, you got Night on Bald Mountain, just a long, arduous level. By the way, I'm saying all this, but I still love God Hand. Don't worry, I still love God Hand. I'm just talking just to talk. Visiting Tiger Joe, strangely enough, not as bad as I was hoping or was thinking it was going to be. But Tiger Joe, thankfully, is just, yeah, he's a tankier elite, of course, but he's, strangely enough, not, I wouldn't consider like the worst thing I've ever had to deal with. And then you move on to a few more, like, you know, revered by demons, Shannon's pet. You get a Killer Hand, which is basically fighting the Sentai again, and those guys are just an absolute menace to deal with. And I wish I could figure them out a little bit better. I'm sure one day I'll get them down, but it's just like there's 5 guys at once, and they just shoot you with lasers, and they can just do all this and that, and it's just a lot of work. And that's a lot of God Hand stuff too. Is like, again, you know, it's enemy management. You kind of have to watch and pay attention to, you know, every enemy and try to knock them, like, you know, get them by themselves or whatever it could be. Stop before you hurt yourself is a terrible one because you have to come in there hoping that you have at least one orb, which you can get from getting a continue, but you basically need that one orb in order to even functionally be able to just do it with the way that I did it, which again was, Seraphim's way that, he found or whatever, and just me even getting lucky for them to not spawn any elites, I would argue is quite lucky. Shannon revealed, once again, just pretty pathetically easy boss. Nothing really specific there. Then we get to Stage 7, which is like the desert stage stuff. It's both hard and it's not. Like, the first 3 levels of it are like, wow. Well, okay, the first level's not that bad. Like, doing Dr. Ion is just, it's like medium difficulty. If you get like a demon to spawn, that sucks, but for the most part, fighting Dr. Ion again, like, he feels like he's a lot weaker, even though he's about the same health, I think. It's just, for some reason, I don't know why, but I don't struggle too much against that version than I do the one before. Could be because I have, Elbow Vortex by now, and I can just pummel him a lot faster, and, whatever, and all that stuff. Then we get to 7-2, which is very SMT-like, in my opinion. The Flying Pyramid, and it's just like a 4-wave fight with just relatively annoying like elites and then like a samurai demon guy or whatever, and that sucks. Great Sensei, I don't know what it is with him. When I first played it on hard and beat it on hard, when I first beat it on hard, because the first time I played it on hard, I never beat it. I got halfway through, I got to the first Azel fight, and then I stopped, and I still have the save file for it. But when I first beat the game, before I recorded it, because there was 2 playthroughs. I recorded the one you guys get to see now, and I just played on my own time to see if I can do it, beat the game on hard. And when I was doing that, I didn't struggle too much with Great Sensei of all things. I don't know what it was. I think it was because I was doing the kick thing and it worked. And then when I was trying to record it, I just couldn't get it down. It took me like, hours and hours and hours on end just to try to figure out, like, how am I supposed to kill this guy without doing the kick thing? And then it's like, well, you know what? At this point, you're just going to have to do that. Because, those clones are just a nightmare and they suck and yada, yada, yada. All that fun stuff. Mirage Town used to... I remember people are always like, oh, Mirage Town is, super hyper difficult or whatever. And then... Not for me, though. Not for me. For Diva's Leader, that's just a case of... weird boss. He's like, I think he's harder than Shannon, I'd say, but other than that, yeah, I don't know, he's too bad. By the way, I'm actually recording this while 8.1 is the last one that's been uploaded, so I'll talk a little bit about 8, but I'm not going to go into full detail about every single specific boss part of it. First you got Death Shudder, and what was Death Shudder again? I'm trying to remember dead offhand. Let's see. Oh, never mind. Okay, no. Mirage Town is hard, but not like super hard. Death Shudder is usually the one that people say is like, yeah, this one's like really hard. And then I did it, and I'm like, yeah, it's not that bad. I usually consistently do it well enough to where it's like, yeah, I think I've got it down pretty well for the most part. And then you get like Stage 8-2. It's just a skip stage. Nothing going on there. Nothing happening. Stage 8-3, is where you have to fight Harambe again, and even though he's like a little bit upgraded, he's still relatively about the same, except for like a few attacks, but even then. And the thing with Stage 8 is the simple fact that during Stage 8, you have to pretty much just always try to make sure that you have a consistent amount of God Hand, a consistent amount of orbs. So that way, if you're going to use it on either Azel or you're going to use it on Afro Fist, then that's where that comes in handy. Because, man, Afro Fist just sucks. After Harambe is the ninja fight, the ninja boss fight. Nothing really, nothing big. Except for them, of course. But jokes aside, nothing too bad. And then Afro Fist is like, I don't know what it is. I guess I've just never learned. It's just like with Mr. Gold and Mr. Silver. I've never learned this boss just by itself. I've never really figured it out. And for some reason, What's-Her-Nuts from the Yetterman thing is just randomly here with another elite. You know, even though we kicked her ass earlier, I guess she just moved on. But as you saw in the video, I just whip out Shaolin Blast, and I just, you know, get a couple of kills, get him basically down, and just start beating him up. I don't know what it is. I'm just so afraid of these random elites that you just never fight. Same thing with Electric Deathmatch. That guy with the big, giant, slow attacks, even though he's easy. Even though he's really easy, it's like he's the last thing to deal with in Electric Deathmatch, and he is so scary. He is so terrifying to have to fight, you know. I'm so scared of having to fight him, like, every time. And that just, yeah. And then after that, of course, you fight Azel for the last time, and it's just a bunch of, you know, wait for him to use Shaolin Blast, dodge that, dodge his supers, taunt him, get God Hand, yada yada yada. And when you're in phase 2, he'll activate God Hand, you run around the room, wait for him to stop, and then you just go back to beating him down like you normally do. If he's going for like a flying kick thing, or just some type of attack that can be easily countered, you gotta go punch him or something, or even go for a flying knee or a launcher. You know, just whatever. If you want to do the strat, I didn't talk about it much, which I should have, but there's actually a strat where you could essentially do like the charged palm attack, which I usually have set to like triangle anyway, but you can do that when he's like doing a super, like when he does like that twirl dance super thing when he slams. I forget what it's called. When he does that one, you can wait for him to get back up and then go for a charge hit, or you can maybe do Shaolin Blast. I don't do it very often because I don't feel like I don't feel like it's safe, you know, because I feel like sometimes he'll just get out of it and then he'll hit me, and then it's like, well, that was a waste of time. So either way, it is something that you can do. Like, Azel does have a lot of things where you can kind of bully him with, thank goodness, but even then. And then the final boss is, there's nothing really to talk about there. It's just the final boss. He's just tanky, and that's about it. There's nothing really inherently crazy going on. But either way, regardless of that being said, God Hand's dead. God Hand's done, not dead. I don't know what I was going to say that for. It's done. I beat it. That's all I can really say for that. And I don't want to spoil too many ideas, but I do want to say that for Gen 3, I have quite a few. And next up, of course, like I mentioned before, is Uncharted 1. And then after that is Evil West. And Evil West would be nothing. I can clean that pretty easy. Uncharted 1 should be a little difficult. Not gonna lie. Uncharted 1's like maybe like a, I don't know, like a 4 out of 10. To be fair, it's harder than Splatterhouse, no doubt. Something about Uncharted 1, it's so clunky and painful. But Evil West, nah, that's like a 3 maybe. If I had to guess on this scale. Which reminds me, I gave God Hand a 7 out of 10 officially. It can change, but I gave it 1 for now because I think it deserves the respect. You know, when I play these games on hard, I never think about really how hard they really truly are. Even though I'm struggling and I'm suffering. Like, Metroid Zero Mission, I gave like a 4 out of 10. It's like, dude, you struggled on Mother Brain for the longest time. You know, you struggled on Ridley for the longest time. Like, I know most of the game was not that bad, but you struggled on them. You know? So, this was basically no upgrades. So, yeah, it's like, yeah, you struggled in that. Like, that should be a point, that should be like 2-3 points worth right there. And that's the thing with my difficulty scaling, is it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what works, right? Like, for Ninja Gaiden, it's, most of them are like maybe like a 6 out of 10 on my difficulty scale because, yeah, they're hard. They can be really hard, but they have a lot of pattern stuff you can do, and a lot of things that can help you cheese the fights, and it just, like, to me, that kind of drops it down to difficulty, because if I got those, I'm not going to struggle as much. But then with a game like Vanquish, it's like, Vanquish on God Hard, I don't have upgrades. I ain't got none of that, you know? I'm stuck using the base weapons, and now I gotta fight these guys, and take these guys out in all these different ways, and it's mainly the bosses. You know, I gotta deal with the final 2 bosses, particularly. It's like, god dang, you know, they're rough, man. But even then, like, a game like that deserves a 7 out of 10 for me, because it's just like, it's pain, you know? You get shot once, and you're basically almost dead. But then, with a game like God Hand, it took a lot of practice. And I think that, even though it's got a lot of stuff in it that just makes the game easy, it sure does. You know, there's a lot of things here. Because that's the thing with God Hand, though. Like, even though it's hard, I would argue it's probably one of those things where it's probably hard to learn, but easy enough to master, I feel. because there's just so much little tiny tricks that just work together. You know, like charged punch into forward triangle or something, and you can just knock away a couple guys. You can side dodge. You got plenty of time. You can even taunt when you charge punch somebody there and they go back down slow. You know, you can do that. So there's just tons of stuff that the game arguably gives you at your disposal that helps you so much. You use a continue, and you got your health back, you got an orb back. Yeah, you lose out on money, but, you know, at the end of the day, I mean, you'll get plenty of money even without going to the casino. It's crazy. God Hand is crazy. It's very good, and I love it. It's definitely one of my top 10s, no doubt about it. But I hope it doesn't have to drop from that, because if I play it too much, it probably will. But, yeah. And I guess one last note I can leave off on. I don't think I've told you guys this yet. I haven't really had the time to. But I thought about doing a live streaming marathon type thing on Turd Monkey specifically. I don't stream here on Hardcorean for reasons, but organized reasons, basically. I like having organization on Hardcorean in a specific way, so, yeah. Anywho, I'm thinking about potentially doing a streamed marathon thing for Hardcorean content on Turd Monkey. That sounds weird, but Turd Monkey is more so like my live streaming, just whatever type stuff. Turd Monkey 1497. That's my main channel. Check it out. You'll know it's me. It's got the bald Virgil. You know that's it. The marathon in question would have been like I would do Generation 1. Whether or not my friend joins in for Pikmin or not for his stuff, I don't know. It could happen, it could not happen. I'm not going to throw it out there like I did in my actual video I was talking about. My ideas video on Turd Monkey I was talking about. But either way, I would do all of Gen 1, and then I would take a break for a while, and then I would come back and do Gen 2, because Gen 2 is going to be a nightmare to do. And Gen 3, whenever that gets done, maybe we might marathon that. I don't know. But that's just an idea, because I keep getting one guide, and people keep saying things like, you know, you're cheating, you suck, or whatever. And it's like, alright, but I'm not actually cheating, so, that I know of. You know, I'm thinking like, what if I just marathon it and prove that I can do it? Because apparently just trying to do a YouTube video is not enough proof for some people. But then again, you could argue like, well, you're just giving in to their demands. You're giving in to these idiots that, you know, just want to talk crap or whatever. And I get it, but at the same time, you know, it could be fun. And I think that's the main thing. Is like, as long as it's fun, whatever. But I'm not going to go into too much detail about that. If that ever happens in the future, I will let you guys know, probably with a video upload that says, hey guys, I'm streaming, you know, on Turd Monkey, I'm streaming Bioshock, no Survivor, no Beta Chamber, whatever. Come check it out. You know, that type of thing, right? So, I would like to see it happen, and it might not happen for a bit. We still got plenty left of the year, so I've got plenty of time left to do it, but I got so many other things that I want to do as well, just, you know, offline stuff, I guess you could say, like backlog, catching up on that, you know, just art crap or whatever, reading, you know, that kind of thing. There's plenty of stuff, watching stuff, there's plenty of stuff I still gotta do outside of it, but don't worry, Hardcorean should not be going anywhere for a while. I've got like 5 or 6 or even possibly even 7 different games coming up in mind just for Gen 3. Gen 3, I think it's probably going to be the craziest one we'll have. I think Gen 3 is going to be the craziest. I don't know, but we'll see. And again, I probably won't do XCOM 2. I don't know. There's just too much RNG involved. And like, I know it's like, oh, well, you said that, you know, your motto is, you know, it's not that I can't do it, but should I? It's like, it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible. But it's definitely one of those things where I can hardly even beat XCOM 2 just by itself. You know, it takes a lot of work, a lot of practice, and now I have to spend, you know, days and days and days and months and months and months just to do it. That's where the should I part comes in. Should I really waste all that precious time on something that I feel like just won't give me the satisfaction, which is something that God Hand did. I think beating God Hand twice gave me it did give me satisfaction, but the satisfaction does kind of wear off after a while, no doubt. You kind of feel like slightly empty on the inside. You're like, you know, I did all that, and I still feel pretty good because I know that I did it. But at the same time, it's like, but there's always something bigger, you know. There's always something else to strive for that's scarier than that. But I will say this, though. I took down one of the many pillars of the hardcoring guides. I took down Vanquish, and I took down God Hand, and I took down Ninja Gaiden 1, 2, and 3. And it's like, that was like 5 pillars of this remarkable demigod level of games I had that I wanted to do, right? And we did Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance S rank too, which is pretty dope back in Gen 2. That's awesome. I'm glad I got that going too. But other than that, yeah, just expect Uncharted next, because you guys voted for it. You guys get it. That's how this works. I love interacting with, you know, community poll stuff. I love voting for stuff myself. So I think that, you know, people deserve a say, you know, that kind of thing. Maybe just steer the channel in a direction that they kind of want to see it sort of go with at the time, which is always fine. And yeah, nothing's gonna come in between Uncharted. Like when I start Uncharted 1, that's it. That's all you're getting for a while until Uncharted 1 is completely done. And I will not upload more than 3 videos in a day. Okay, so bare minimum 1 video, maximum 3. I don't go over 3. It just that's too much at that point. So there's like what, 20 some chapters in Uncharted 1. I don't know, but I believe so. Yeah, that should be. I should know this. I played it before. I played Uncharted 1 dozens of times. What am I talking about? Yeah, with that being said, I'm excited for this year, guys. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm excited for this year. Things might work out. If they don't, that's fine. But I'm excited to do Uncharted 1. And I'm excited to get these dang God Hand videos out of my dang thing. So I need to remember to actually render those out before it's too late. I should do that. Yeah. Okay, anyway, that's it for this. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. If we ever do a skill issue again in the future, I don't know. I'm not going to call it episode whatever, because that's just kind of weird. I'm going to call it skill issue, God Hand or something, right? So, there you go. Alright, thank you all for watching. And as always, take care, everybody.